Hi everyone, welcome to another sewing video. I'm very excited about this one. Also, I've recently been editing a couple of videos in a row because I need to queue up some stuff because I'm going on vacation and stuff like that. And it made me realize that I'm pretty sure that in every single intro I say that I am incredibly excited about this one. But I am. I honestly am. I'm excited about everything that I do for YouTube because otherwise I wouldn't be doing it. But I am kind of extra excited about this one because we are continuing the 18th century outfits that I'm working on. We have all of the underlayers, so they are right here on my mannequin. So we have a shift, we have stays, we have a petticoat and a false rump. So all of the underlayers are done, which means that we are now ready to start working on the outer layers, so the actual visible layers. I mean, that's just objectively exciting because that's what you actually see. Now for the outer layers, I have to make two main layers. We have a silk petticoat and we have the actual gown. We are doing the petticoat first today, and for that I'm using, like for most of these layers, the American Duchess Guide to 18th Century Dressmaking. And I am just using this pattern, the silk petticoat over the false rump. I mean, we are just going through all of the chapters for the Italian gown in their book. So we have now arrived at the silk petticoat. Now, fabric-wise, silk is expensive and I can really not afford to buy silk just for a piece of clothing that honestly I won't ever wear anywhere. It's just going to be maybe live on my mannequin or stuff like that. So instead I looked for alternatives, and I really didn't want to go for a kind of like polyester imitation silk because I wanted to use all natural fibers for this whole project. So instead I found a cotton satin, which is this beautiful pink fabric, which looks really nice. It's not the same as a silk. I mean, it is a satin, not a silk. But at least it's somewhat similar. It has a little bit of a sheen, which is really nice. And it's cotton, so it's a natural fiber, which is what I was looking for. So yeah, we have this. I'm hoping it's going to be fine. Then for the other materials, I have thread. I actually have two spools because I have this one in my stash, which I feel like looks the nicest with this fabric. It's slightly darker, and I kind of prefer a darker thread if it's going to be visible. Because I also have this one, which is lighter. But like I said, I prefer the darker one. I just don't know if I have enough of this to make the whole thing. So my plan is to just use the lighter one for all of the invisible seams. And then use the darker one for the visible one. So the hem and I believe the finishing the edge of the opening on the side. Stuff like that. I also have a waist tape, and that's basically all I need. And again, with most of these patterns we've done so far, the pattern pieces are pretty simple. It's going to be just two rectangles. And the rectangles are going to be the width of the fabric. So we're going selvage to selvage. And for the length, I need to do some measuring. Now I have done some prep work because it's kind of difficult to measure on myself. I don't really have anyone just walking around here that can help me with that. That sounds really depressing. That sounds like I don't have anyone in my life at all. I just mean there's no one in my apartment at this second to help me measure. So I just had to do it myself. So what I've done is I've put on all of the layers earlier, and then I measured the length from my waist over one of the pillows of the false rump all the way down to the floor. Then I put everything on my mannequin, did the same measuring, and in this one it was slightly longer, which makes sense because her waist, my mannequin's waist, is slightly higher than mine. There's actually a 6 centimeter difference. That's fine, we can work with that. Now for the length of the petticoat, it actually needs to be just below the ankle. So what I'm going to have to do now is kind of measure on myself the height from the floor to just below my ankle, and then we'll know how long the panels need to be. So what we're going to do now is do that little measuring thing I just said about the ankle. Then I'm going to cut my fabric to that length twice, so we have two pieces, and then we can already start sewing. I feel like this may not take that long. There are some steps in this whole process that are a bit complicated and time consuming, but in general, it's just two pieces of fabric sewn together at the side, leaving an opening at the top, then pleating both the front and the back to fit your waist, add a waistband, hem the whole thing, that's it. I say that now, watch me struggle, but in theory it shouldn't be too complicated. I'm going to measure and cut out my fabric now, and then we can start sewing. By hand, by the way. I'm going to sew this whole thing by hand, I decided, because it's not an insane amount of seam, so it should be fine. Hopefully. Okay, I actually made this second piece just a little bit longer. This is the original line. And then I added 5 more centimeters because I've put the first piece I've cut out up against my mannequin, against the back. And it was barely covering the hem of the petticoat. So I was a little bit worried it would be too short. So I've just made it 5 centimeters longer, just to have a little bit of extra wiggle room. And then when I'm working on leveling the hem later, we can just adjust for this extra fabric. But if I do find out that I need the extra length, I at least have it. So just to be safe, I did this, and yeah. I'm now going to just give these pieces a quick press because they are very, very messy. And then we can start sewing. Okay, I have my 2 pieces cut out and pressed. I also, like I said earlier, made the back piece a little bit longer. So I do need to make sure that I keep track of which is the front and the back. I know that the one at the top right now is the back piece. And now we can start sewing. And the first thing I need to do is sew one of the side seams. And I'm lucky because I'm working with selvages. So I can just use a running back stitch. I don't need to worry about any like seam finishing and stuff like that. I also need to leave 10 to 12 inches open at the top for the pocket slit. I don't actually have pockets. I now realize that I haven't even made any plans to make pockets. I may add that to the list at some point. Anyway, I need to leave open 10 to 12 inches at the top. And for the edges of those 10 to 12 inches, I do need to kind of hem them. So I'm just going to fold them to the inside once. Don't really need to do more because it's a selvage, and just stitch that down. And I will be using the slightly lighter pink for the seam itself, and then I'm going to use the darker one to finish those edges. But yeah, it shouldn't be too difficult. So I'm just going to sew this side seam, and then we need to do some pleating, which should be a little bit more challenging. But first, side seam. So for the side seam, I first made sure to check that the right sides of the fabrics were together, because the right side is the nice, pretty, shiny side. I then marked 11 inches from the top, but I decided to go with the kind of middle ground between 10 and 12, because I don't really know what I need. So I just decided to go with the 11 inches. I then just quickly pinned the whole side seam kind of together. It's unnecessary because it's pretty obvious where I need to stitch because of the selvage, but I like to just do it anyway, just to make sure. I then grabbed my lighter pink thread and got to work on a running back stitch all the way to the opening at the top. Then once I finished that seam, I pressed it open, and I also pressed the selvages to the inside on the open parts at the top, at the opening, just to give it a really nice, crisp, neat edge. And then I sewed that down using the darker thread, like I said earlier, trying to actually keep it as invisible as possible. So only trying to pick up one thread on the outside of the fabric as I went, which was a challenge, but I do think it looks really, really nice. That is the side seam done. I have a finished side seam and I think it looks pretty nice. I now need to do the pleating, which is going to be a little bit complicated. I did already measure my waist when I was wearing all of these layers, so I know what size it needs to be. Now I think I'm going to add a little bit of extra length on the sides so that it kind of overlaps. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I have my fabric here and I need to pleat the front and the back separately because they're still separate pieces. And I need to make sure that when it's done, it will fit around the waist perfectly and have the overlap. So I need to follow the instructions, first of all. I'm probably going to have to restart it a couple of times. The pleating is always trial and error, so let's just give it a shot. So here we are. It only took, I think I got it on the 4th try, so that's not that bad. I made it a little bit longer. Just, I don't know, just to be sure. But yeah, I figured it out. We got there. I'm going to baste this into place now. And then I'm going to pleat the back. And for that we're going to do an inverted box pleat and then pleat to the waist as well. So yeah, let's baste this into place and do some more pleating. Okay, just kidding. Forget what I just said. I redid the pleats because I didn't really like them. I just thought they were way too big, so I made them a little bit smaller. I think it's looking much nicer now. I've also just kind of pulled the pleats down, pinned them into place here, and then carefully pressed it a little bit so that it stays into place, hopefully. Now I'm actually going to just baste along here, make sure all the pleats stay in place, and then I am going to work on the back. So yeah, like I said, pleating is trial and error, and I guess it took me 5 times in total to get it right, but I think it looks nice. So let's baste it into place. we have a pleated front and a pleated back. So I've pleated everything, pasted it into place. I've kept the pins in, because that's what the book tells me to do. I've also finished the second side seam. I don't know which one it is, one of them. We now have 2 side seams, which means that we are ready for the next step, which is the hem. Now I need to do the hem first and then level the hem. And then I think tomorrow we can put this on my mannequin and we can start leveling the whole thing. And that should be very interesting. Let's first spend probably a couple of hours sewing the hem. For the hem, I just made a tiny hem, or at least as tiny as I can make it. I first folded over the edge once and pressed as I went. Then once I had done that all the way around, I folded it over again and again just pressed it into place and make it all nice and crisp. And then I just sewed down the hem, trying to pick up only 1 or 2 threads of the outer fabric as I went, just to make sure it's not too visible on the outside, but I don't mind if it's a little bit visible, so 1 thread would be great, 2 is also fine. Good morning. It's the next day and as you can see, I've put the petticoat on my mannequin because I finished the hem yesterday and the next step is to level the hem. Let me take a sip of coffee because I need it. Also, can you tell I just came back from my Zagreb and Plivic trip? Yesterday I used my new Zagreb mug and today we're using my Plivic mug. We're using my Plivic mug. Yay. Anyway. She's on the mannequin. I also just, I don't know, I just wanted to see what it looks like and it looks kind of ridiculous, which is what I love about this kind of era of fashion, especially from the side. It's kind of crazy from the side. But now, like I said, I need to level the hem. And to do that, I need to kind of just measure from the floor. I need to make sure that I have the right distance between the floor and the hem all the way around. To do that, like I said earlier, I don't really have anyone here that can help me with this at the moment. So I am going to do this on the mannequin. She's a little, well, is she taller than me? I don't think she is taller than me. But her waist is about 6 centimeters higher than mine. So I did some calculations. We measured earlier that the height from the floor to my ankle is about 10 centimeters. We know the difference between her waist and mine is 6 centimeters. So I'm thinking if I just use 16 centimeters as a measurement, I should be okay. Now to help me with that, I made something. Well, I didn't really make something. I put something together. This is my office water bottle that I take with me to work. And my ruler. I've just done this so that I can just put it on the floor and keep it there and kind of measure whilst I'm working without having to hold the ruler up every single time I need to measure. I can just look at it. Speaking of the measuring, how I'm going to do this is I'm going to, like I said, put that thing on the floor next to the petticoat. And then I'm just going to raise up the top of the petticoat. Oh God, it's gone sunny. The exposure is going to be all over the place in this clip. I'm sorry. I'm going to lift up the top of the petticoat to reach the right length at the bottom. Pin that into place on the mannequin. I am then going to get my waist tape and just pin the waist tape on the waistline to the petticoat. And then I think the most important thing is that I'm going to take everything off the mannequin and put everything on myself so that I can see if I need to make any adjustments. Hopefully it will be okay. If not, I can just make some adjustments. That's completely fine. I just need to check if what I did on the mannequin is right on me. And once that is done, I can actually sew the waist tape on. But we're not there yet. I think I'm going to have to spend quite some time leveling this hem. But yeah, should be interesting. Let's have all this lamb. Let's level this hem. Okay, I've put it on. Oh god, I love this. It's so ridiculous. And I think I'm good with the levelness of the hem. I feel like it's a little bit shorter. Let me show you. I'm going to stand up on my little thing. Here we are. It's, I think, like a tiny little bit longer than it needs to be, but I'm not wearing shoes. I need to take that into consideration. So I think with shoes it will be fine. I also feel like the back is slightly longer, but that's also because you can also see that I've tied the front higher than the back. So if I just tie this a little bit higher, it will be fine. Oh god, this is insane. I love it. So now I'm going to take this off. Hope I don't lose any pins in the process because it's very dangerous with all these pins sticking out. And then I'm going to sew the waist tape to the petticoat. I need to sew the bottom edge down first, then flip it to the inside and sew the other edge down. Also going to trim some of the excess fabric, and then we are done. And then we can go to the final reveal, which will look similar to this, let's be honest. This is just going to be finished, that's all. But yeah, I'm very excited. So let's finish this petticoat. So there we have it. It's done, and I think it looks pretty good. I mean, it's exactly how I was hoping it would be. I love this color, this fabric. It's so pretty, and it works really well with the fabric for the outer dress, which you'll see in the next video. But yeah, I think the hem is also pretty good. I think this is all looking really nice and neat. I tried to sew the waist tape on the inside to kind of like the underside of the pleat, if that makes sense, so there wouldn't be as many visible stitches, and I think I did it pretty well. There are not that many visible stitches on the waistline, which isn't really that important because there's going to be, I think the dress is going to cover it at least a little bit at the front and all the way at the back, so that's fine. But yeah, I'm really happy with my petticoat. I'm starting to see the whole thing come to life now that we have at least one outer layer, and yeah, I love it. I don't really have anything else to say. It was also a really easy pattern to follow along with, so I think all in all it has been a very big success. So yeah, I'm just going to end this video now. Next time we are making the actual outer dress that goes over the petticoat. So that's going to be like a bodice and then the back part of the skirt, because the front is just going to be the petticoat. I mean, that's pretty exciting in my opinion, because then it becomes an actual dress. So feel free to subscribe so you don't miss out on that video. For now, thank you for watching. Have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.